Well, on Sunday mornings we started a short series on Job. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright and one who feared God and shunned evil. And verse 2, he has a perfect family. And verse 5, he's the one man who is careful to avoid the judgment of God. Blameless, upright, God-fearing Job. And yet for the man who is careful to avoid tragedy, tragedy strikes. And this godly man who lives under the blessing of heaven in one day loses everything, even his children. How can that be right? What kind of God allows the innocent to suffer? What possible justification can there be for God to inflict suffering on his most loyal and loving servant? Make sense of that. And maybe the events in the news of this last week, you've been thinking, who can make sense of that? What kind of God is he? What's going on? The book of Job, and we're calling the series The Perfect Storm. Well, last time we introduced ourselves to the book and we said 5 things. Number 1, these events are ancient history. Number 2, the book, though, was written at a later date. Number 3, the book is architectonic, has a beautiful architecture. It's skillfully woven together. And number 4, the book is principally poetry. So it's not a fly-on-the-wall documentary, 4 men, as it were, musing round an ash heap. It's a cycle of speeches expressed in this beautiful Hebrew poetry. And why poetry? Because poetry is the language of the soul. And it brings us into the very crucible of Job's struggle. And the 5th thing we said, well, we talked about the God of Job. Now, Job knows that God is mighty, sovereign, just, and merciful, but he doesn't yet know him as Yahweh, the God who is invincibly committed to his people. It's the name translated Lord in capital letters in our Bible. For all Job knows, God may have changed his mind about Job. And that from now on, Job has found himself on the wrong side of God, and there's nothing he can do about it. He can't say, the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. He can't say, we know that all things work together for good to those who love God. Now, that is the God that he worships, but God has yet to reveal himself to Job as that God. So for all Job knows, God has just changed his mind about Job. And is now against him. Because we're at the beginning of Revelation, we're at the beginning of things.